Hello everyone, good morning and welcome to today's market conversation. My name is Abby and I'm going to be taking the first part of today's analysis, which is going to be covering commodity currencies and indices. All right, just give me a second while I try to pick something on my end. Perfect, we're back. Okay, once again, good morning and welcome everyone to today's market color session. As I stated earlier, we're going to be doing a detailed analysis on commodity currencies. That includes AUD USD, NZD USD, and USD CAD. Shortly after which, we're now going to move into indices, right? So for those of us who joined on Tuesday, you remember we stated that we're waiting to see what Fed Powell's speech was going to do in the market, and we're looking at buys on NZD USD and AUD USD, right? So that eventually came out yesterday. The summary of the conversation that was had yesterday was it was going to be a short-term drag, right? So markets had already priced on Powell's speech being sort of having a cautious tone, right? Which brought about a mild sell-off on the dollar itself, that's DXY. So we saw persistent weakness, dollar kept tanking throughout yesterday. Let's quickly look at that so you see. So this is the XY on the 1 hour time frame. You can see how clear the sell was. So having this now, looking at what this has done, we're now wanting to see what impacts. Of course, the dollar is selling, NZUSD should be buying, so should AUD-USD. We also spoke about USD CAD continuing its sell-off, and that's exactly what it did as well. This was a zone we had marked out during our last analysis, and you see how perfectly price came back to kiss that zone and dropped. So far we're on point. Everything we were looking at happening has happened. So today, what are we now seeing for today's market movement? We're looking at USD CAD on the H4 time frame. Predominant structure is still heavily to the downside. On the 1 hour time frame, price broke through a zone, retested, and it has continued to sell off, right? So now that I've seen this and I'm looking at no sunshine being printed on the H4 time frame, we are now watching to see if it's going to keep selling all the way down to 1.36632. So we're going to keep watching to see if it goes all the way down there. On the M5 time frame, I'm going to go ahead and mark out the 4 basic levels that I always mark out, which are yesterday's high and low, day before yesterday's high and low. So yesterday's high, yesterday's low, day before yesterday's low, finally day before yesterday's high. I'm drawing it all the way into today's price movement. So these are now the zones we're watching out for. Price has now broken through this level, looking like a retest. It is possible we see a deeper retracement all the way back into our indicator, our pullback indicator, or our trend indicator. That's the orange and the green that we're looking at here. And when price does that, we could now see the final lap or final sell all the way into this particular level. Okay, some of us are wondering, what are these indicators? I don't have them. How do I benefit from this analysis? Pay attention to price on the right-hand side. This is what you want to take note of, and then add that to your TA, technical analysis, and take advantage of what we're looking at. You can then add your own confirmation as well for those of us that are already traders. For the newbies, you know what to do. Send us a DM and let's guide you through. Okay, so these are now the 4 zones I'm watching out for. The first one being 1.36800. The second zone is 1.37072. The third is 1.37366, and the fourth is 1.37529. These are the levels that we're now watching, waiting to see what price does. Price has violated this zone. Are we going to see a deeper retracement? This is what we're going to be watching out for on USD CAD. Buy back into this zone, maybe even continue from here, and then we see a final move. Where we're now going to see the next struggle is around the support level. If price is able to break through the support level, where is USD CAD going to continue its sell to? It's going to break through. Zooming in, you can see where we marked out on M5. This is it right here. The breakthrough is coming for the next support zone, which is 1.36632. And if it is able to break through that level as well, we're going to see more times of this, right? Except you have fundamental news that comes to change things up a bit. But looking at price action, structure, everything we're seeing right now is looking at indicators. This is the order strategy. What we're seeing right now is a possible retracement and a sell continuation. Is this clear? Do you have any questions on USD CAD analysis before we move to the next? Let me know. Okay, I see more of us are joining. Hi, everyone. I see a lot of new names. It's good to have all of us here. Hi, Edith, Adesoji, Grace Johnson, Joseph, Knight, Kolade, Lawani. Do we have questions? Is this clear? While we're all typing up our questions, let us now look at highlights. Let us now look at NZD starting from the H4 time frame. Okay, so on the H4 time frame, again, we stated on Tuesday that we had more interest in buying NZD especially because of the ceasefire that happened, right? So we discussed that. If you missed that session, you can catch up on our YouTube page. Just check under the live session. YouTube page name is Value Trading. So we already had interest in buying commodity currencies and continuations of USD. For USD CAD as well, we spoke about how CAD was weak due to a dip in oil price, and you can see how much further it went down. So for this now, price bought, and it's printed sunshine. Sunshine basically means profit taking. So people who were buying this move took profits out of the markets right here. So now that we've seen this, I'm expecting retracements. On NZUSD. But to what zone? So we're going to go ahead and come to the 1 hour time frame to mark out these levels. The first zone, in fact, the levels we have marked out are still very much valid. Our first zone is 0.60237, and our second zone is 0.59729. So these levels are still valid. We're saying NZUSD will most likely sell back into these levels, and then if you see confirmations, we could continue the buys of this particular asset class. Moving directly now to M5, go ahead and mark out same thing we did on USD CAD. Yesterday's high, yesterday's low, day before yesterday's high, and day before yesterday's low. Okay, I'm going to answer that question. Let me just finish up this analysis, this asset class analysis. So we marked out yesterday's high, yesterday's low, day before yesterday's high, and day before yesterday's low. Please just pay attention to the one I'm drawing into today, so you don't get confused. I know the indicators may look like a lot on the chart. So pay attention to these 4 levels I just marked out on M5. What are they? The first one is 0.60553. The second is 0.60427. The third one is 0.60095. Finally, 0.59843. These are the 4 levels we're looking out for that could serve as either previous resistance, storm current support, which is obviously for a buy, or previous support still maintaining its support level and sending price up. So this is what we're watching out for. Price is already approaching our previous resistance that could act as future support. If we see confirmations that gives us insights that this one will be holding, we know what we're going to be doing. Okay, so Osa said the retracement, what points we'll get to. Okay, I believe you're asking what point the retracements will get to, right? What asset class? Is it USD CAD? Is it for USD CAD? While he clarifies that, let us look at
Yes.
Okay, for USD CAD. Okay. So I already called out the level points we're watching out for on each one. We said price could continue selling, and if it's going to retrace, that's a temporal buyback. This is the first retracement point we're looking out for, and that is 1.37077. That's the first level. But if price violates this zone, it's coming back to the pullback because this indicator acts as a magnet that draws price, and this is our trend indicator. So it's either it comes here, which is 1.37248, or it comes all the way here, 1.37304. And if these two levels don't hold, that's why we have multiple POIs. If this does not hold and this does not hold, we know what levels would hold. But if all of these zones get violated to the upside, it starts to give us signs that maybe we're about to see a different move. Price is fractal, so if the lower time frame starts to create structures on the opposite direction and continuously does that, it's only a matter of time before the higher time frames catch up. I believe that's clear, sir. Did I answer your question, sir, or did I confuse you more?
Yes. Yeah.
So AUD USD on H4. What are we now looking at on the H4 time frame? So structure looks a bit, or price movement looks a bit choppy, but overall choppy to the upside. Zooming in so you can see clearly, you see that price was just doing a lot of jammed up moves around here, but it was still forming structure to the upside until we saw a break of structure around here, right? If this was going to hold, when price retraced into this zone, we would have seen a self-continuation of AUD USD. However, price broke above this zone. It has not taken out this level though. So on the H4 time frame, we could still be waiting to see when this gets taken out. So we can now say, okay, we're back to having clearer buys on AU, because for now, looking at this is still a lower high, and it's possible it just comes here and continues to sell. So when price takes out the zone on H4, then it's even be clearer that we're back in a buy mode. On H1 now, right? H1 is clearer than the H4 time frame. Price, but like we said, discussed on Tuesday, and we're now looking at levels where it could retrace into. This is level 1, and this is level 2. So these are typically zones, not specifically price points, but because this is the MT4 time frame platform, I'm using the price zones instead. So we're looking at somewhere at 0.64947 for price to retrace into. And if you see confirmations to continue buying AU to be perfect, remember at every point in time, you want to buy low and sell high. Price has been buying. Those of us who were here on Tuesday, we're part of the early move, lucky for us. But those of us who are watching right now, we're not looking to jump in to start buying at this particular point. You want to wait for deeper retracement so you can buy low and take it up, right? So this is 0.64947, that we're watching out for on the H1 time frame. Moving to M5. M5, again, what did I do on 2 asset classes? I marked out support and resistance zones, which come in form of yesterday's high, yesterday's low, and day before yesterday's high and low. So this is day before yesterday's high. This is day before yesterday's low, which happens to be in confluence with not just our trend indicator, but our H1 zone. So this is a stronger level that AU might sell into. That's one. And then for yesterday, this is yesterday's high, marked out into today. And then this is yesterday's low right here. Perfect. So we know already why we mark our points of interest. We trace into these zones, give us confirmations. We'll be looking to continue buying, except we have a fundamental news release that comes out and changes the dynamics of the markets, right? So this is it. Now let us quickly look at Forex Factory to see if we have any news release we're expecting so that we are prepared and not taken off guard. Remember, fundamentals play a big role in how the market moves. So Forex Factory, today is the 26th. What do we have coming out? Because we're looking at commodity currencies, our interest will be on the dollar and any news release we see on commodity currencies. So we have final GDP Q&Q coming out by 1:30 and unemployment claims on the dollar coming out. So watch out for this. If you need the translation of what this means, go on Forex Live. You'll see different headlines and read the story to understand what is being said, right? Then tomorrow we have one coming out on CAD, Canadian dollar, by 1:30. Watch out for that because it will have an impact on USD CAD. And then you also want to watch out for PCE price index as well. So these are the high impact news releases we have coming out today and tomorrow. Quick look at Finviz Forex performance. to see what is currently driving the market for today. It's currently loading up, so let us wait for that. While that is loading up, you can see the systematic approach of analyzing. You want to check technical analysis if that's what you use. If you're an indicator trader like myself, you want to look at your indicators, see what they're telling you. Check Forex Factory for high impact news release, Forex Live for the translations, and Forex Performance to see the driver or what is currently moving the market, the theme of the market. So for now, we're looking at yen being the strongest, dollar being the weakest, understandably so. AUD, NZD, and CAD are gradually losing strength. They seem to be the weakest after USD, which makes sense if we're expecting temporary retracement into zones we continue to buy from, right? So yen is currently the strongest of them all. So if you want to pair a strong asset class versus a weak, outside of what we already looked at, you can pay attention to JPY versus the dollar, and that's USD JPY, or any other asset class that is a weak versus a strong. Okay, without taking too much more of our time, so we can have a detailed session on indices as well. This is where I'm going to be stopping for now. We're going to reconvene by 1:30 for a recap. If you have any question, let me know. If not, leave a thumbs up so we can proceed into the next session. All right. Okay. Thank you so much for joining. And as I'd always say, cheers. God bless. We'll be back in less than 30 seconds. Bye.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the second part of the market color. How are we doing this morning? Hope you're good. Hope you're fine. And we'll be looking at the US market, right? The US30, S&P500, and NAS100. Some people call it US Tech, but I call it US100. It's all the same thing. All right. So quickly, the market has been really, really interesting. So far, so good. With US100, we've had a lot of retracement and bullish movement to the upside in recent times. Let me start with US100, US30 first before we move to US100. All right, I believe you can see my screen now. All right, US30 is still coming. Daily time frame. Beautiful. So US30 is still within this region. What we are expecting still yet to happen. Coming. Let me move this guy up here. Just this. Okay. So, but so far so good. It's looking pretty good. We've seen a bullish move to the upside and a strong bullish candle closing right above this previous high. A retest of this zone, and then price is currently in a way continuing the move to the upside. So on the daily time frame here, let me put it on weekly. Let me see. No, daily what? On the daily time frame here, something can happen, right? Which is this candlestick can come to retest this fair value gap. We have a fair value gap around here. And that's based on the past price action of US30, right? This fair value gap can be, there can be a retest on it and then price continue. The second one, which is price can just literally continue to the upside because this breaker block has been retested, this one here. right? It has been retested by this bearish candle. And so far so good. What are we looking for? We're looking for a rally to the upside, right? Which is this. Ultimately, this like double top here. The price is going to clear this double top to the upside. All right. So I want to see like a retracement and then a buy to continue the old drama that's happened so far so good, right? This is like a box pattern, but they're not really clear because there was no clear sweep, right? So on US30, it's still a bit dicey. It's either we waiting for price to come to this zone to start buying, or we just want to, take trades from other block, right? Let me put it on. Okay, want to take trades from other block, which is still not valid. It's not valid except we're trying to force the trade, right? By the time we go to US100, I'm going to show us a more valid setup, right? But then US30 is looking how will I put it? In terms of possibility for a buy to the upside and then catching swing trade, US30 looks more viable because we have a long way to go before we finally clear our before we finally create a new time high, right? A new all-time high. That's the right word. Look at how far price is willing to move from this zone here, where price currently is, to this. We have about 2,000 pips. Now, 1,945, right? That's close to 2,000 pips that can be gotten from US30, but the setup is not aligning. That's the problem, right? Even though we are seeing a very good price action, the setups are not aligning, except we want to use another strategy to enter this market, right? That's a different conversation altogether. Using Fibonacci retracement to enter the market, right? That would be a different conversation. And if that is what we're looking to do, then we want to see price breaks this and then retrace a bit, right? That would be a more subtle entry, not our usual style of entry, but then a break of this and then 50% retracement to continue, right? But if we're looking to wait for proper break of structure, market structure, liquidity, and all of those extra things, right? US30 is really not, hasn't given us that setup yet. We've not seen that framework yet, right? Except we're trying to force. Even when you're forcing it, there's nothing really or literally here to start forcing. There's no sweep, there's no break yet that's happened significantly. So there's nothing we can maneuver to take trade. However, other entry style like Fibonacci retracement can actually, work in this place, right? So that being said, let's look quickly to US100, because on US100 we have a lot more, trade setup. All right, on daily time frame, US100 has given us what we want to see. It has broken what? It has broken its previous all-time high, right? That's broken its previous all-time high, which signifies that, and we're using this as also a confirmation that the remaining asset class, that's US30 and S&P500, would follow suit, right? So yeah, S&P500 is actually doing almost the same as we speak, but then US30 is yet to do that, right? So for now, on US100, this is what has happened so far so good. One thing we can see is a retest into this zone, probably price retesting into this high that was broken, just a weak retracement and then weak and then continue to the upside. That's on daily time frame. On the 4-hour time frame, let's look at something. In the 4-hour time frame, that weak retracement is sitting pretty much on another block. That's also another confirmation, right? So on the daily time frame, we're expecting that price to test a week, but on the 4-hour time frame, we have another block on that zone in that particular area of interest. Meaning, if price should come there, it looks more probable to send price to the upside again, right? On the 1-hour time frame, what are we waiting for? In 1-hour time frame, for those that are not patient to take trades from this zone, we have something here that is looking quite interesting, right? Which is sweep and liquidity, right? Let me put it on, say, 30 minutes so it can look very, very obvious. A sweep of this zone and then break to the upside and then price coming back to this zone to continue the movement. Will price eventually come? That's another different question. But then something like this, although I would have loved to see this on US30, because we have a long way to go on US30. Unlike S&P 5, and unlike NASDAQ, that everything has already happened. It has cleared its own all-time high. So for this kind of guy now, pair, if you would say, it's in a new area, price discovery. So we don't know how far price can go, right, on US100. That's why even the buy here might be somewhat limited. You can't even say, it might go 1:4, 1:5, can do 1:10, might do 1:1. Because price is actually, there's no reference point to what it can do, right? Since we are in a new zone altogether. But then on US30, there's still a lot more. There's still a lot more price can. I believe probably before tomorrow or even by next week, we should have seen like a new price action form altogether, right? And then we can now properly position ourselves for a swing buy in the market. Because one thing that happens with this guy is that once US100 record a new all-time high, S&P 500 does the same, you expect US30 to finally or find a way to also rally, if not clear its own all-time high or form new all-time high, at least it will rally a bit. And then inside 2000, if we're able to capture 500 pips, I mean, it's still a good trade altogether, right? So this is what I'm looking at this morning, side by side along S&P 500, because you have almost the same thing on S&P 500 too, right? So I'll be looking at this morning, and then be watching out for what can happen, what can happen in terms of, although this rally was a struggle, right? This rally looks like a struggle. The price action, or it's not, there's no much momentum, right? If you look at this candlestick, but then it doesn't matter. We'll be watching this and seeing how price is going to react off of this, right? I'll be using this and S&P 500 as a confirmation tool. One thing which I really don't recommend if you don't have a sizable account, is while price comes to that zone, if for any reason price comes to that zone on US100 and S&P 500, and then I see signatures for buy, I can go back to US30 and then I'll buy the basket, meaning I'm buying US30, S&P 500, and US100. Buy the basket of the whole asset class, and then anyone that rallied the most, as they say in Nigeria and Africa, Alhamdulillah, meaning glory be to God. I hope that's what it means, right? So I'm just going to buy the baskets. I think that's a better strategy for this morning if price comes to that level. So one thing you want to do is to ensure that you are risking almost the same thing across board, right? You're risking the same asset class across. And then if you're working in the street risk management, ensure that you're sizing it, all the position accumulated together, yeah, just probably 1% or 2%, depending on what your risk management looks like, right? So you want to ensure that the same position you're buying, the same position, right? You have the same position across board for the three pair. That's US30, S&P 500, and US100. But then they are all within your risk parameter, right? So if you know your account size might not be able to withstand that all of this position, just leave everything all together, right? Because you don't want to guess on stuff like this. It's very volatile, I have to be honest with you. All right, moving on. This is what we have on S&P 500, almost the same analysis with US100. However, on S&P 500, we have a clean sweep, and then we have some structural liquidity around this zone here, right? We have some structural liquidity around this zone here. I also have a break of structure, and I expect that once price comes, we would see that rally again to the upside. Everything is looking good. And of course, let's not forget, this is all technical. That is why when it comes to things like US30 indices, it gets very, very dicey. All of this we've said is just technical. A simple tweet from President Trump can send all of our position into SL. And a simple tweet can actually give us that big break, right? My C1 is to 11, crazy win to risk to reward ratio, right? So all of this is still technical. Fundamental is still a bit neutral, tilting to being bullish, right? Because I mean, the whole war is now beginning to, finally settle down, right? The whole heat beginning to settle down. Also, we have inflation play coming up with US economy too, right? But then we should keep our eyes on fundamental on Twitter, right? If you have a way on getting on Truth Social, you should do that also and follow on Donald Trump, right? So that once you tweet, you can see it immediately and then make informed decision with it. Because I mean, we are trading the US market. It is wisdom for you to follow what the number one is saying in such economy or in such trading situation. So these are what I'm looking out for this morning. So like I mentioned, if for any reason I see price beginning to retrace into this zone, and then on lower time frame M5 we see exactly the same thing, right? On lower time frame, then we want to enter this market. And for me, I think a better strategy today would be buying the basket, right? So buying US30, buying US100, buying S&P 500 all together, maintain the same risks, and then, or because with that, I'm able to protect my downside, right? I'm able to protect my downside, and then the upside is unlimited. Because while US100 is in price discovery, S&P 500 is also around that zone. Look at something here. Almost also hitting price discovery, right? US30 is nothing close to price discovery. It's still far, right? US30 is still, you can see, US30 is still far away, right? So we expect that one of them is going to rally and lead this rally to the upside, right? And I strongly believe that US30 should catch up, right? But then if it doesn't, I mean, it's still a win all around. If any of them choose to lead the bullish move to the upside, it's still a win. Win is a win regardless of which one rallies off very quickly. All right, so these are what I'm looking at for this morning. Today's analysis is kind of very, very simple, nothing really special in terms of extra fundamentals. I believe it has been dealt with the first part. All right, it's a good place to ask a question this morning. If we have any question, let us ask a question, and I believe we can call it a wrap. About 13 on this Zoom call. Do we have any question as regard the analysis being done? Adesoji, Edith, Edward, Grace, Gold, Joseph, Johnson, Knight, Kolade, Ode, Osas, and Toby. Do you have any question? Do you have any question? So far, so good. All right, all good, beautiful. Thank you so much for joining this session. And by 2 p.m. in the afternoon, we'll be reconvening again to have a review of what has been said during this morning session. And I believe with that we can adjust our position in the markets and also confirm if our bias still intact. All right, thank you so much for joining this morning. I wish you all profitable trading. Cheers, and God bless everyone. See you by 2 afternoon.